Good morning, everyone. Welcome. This is Angela Coulter and
Sarah Sieg Avignoni.
bringing you this week's Ascended World Collective Energy Share. Finally, I'm pulling us up here. So if anybody does join us, sorry that we're 43 minutes later than intended this morning because of some stupid computer stuff. But
Right.
that usually means we have something really big to talk about because it's like it was doing an upgrade. So we had to upgrade the technology to accommodate.
Right. Everything has to be in alignment.
Everything has to be in alignment. So, and of course, this is the first week after, we were away on our quarterly little immersion retreat.
Little.
We'll just call that little.
Right. Right.
Biggest one yet. And still
I
processing.
agree.
Still
Right.
processing.
Right. Which
Well,
I'm sure is part of the reason for the need for the alignment here.
right. Good morning, Gloria. Yes, because actually when we were like, oh, well, let's just hit all this straight on and, not beat around the bush. That's when we were talking on Friday. It's like, oh, well, we don't talk about anything in detail. We'll just cover it when we get there. This is huge. I mean, we did so much work last weekend, 3 of us that were away. And we literally go someplace and hole up for like a long weekend. And that's all we do is this work. Like we look at the deepest triggers, right? We do what I'm calling deep diving because that's really what it is.
It really is. Well, and it's finding those common threads and then really taking a hard look at and not satisfying for just the surface things. It's like, surgery to get to the root of it
without any anesthesia.
Right.
But that doesn't have to be bad. That doesn't have to be bad.
Right. That's true.
Actually, it's uncomfortable but it's so freeing, right? When we hit on those things.
It is. And it's more than just, oh, I feel good.
No, it's like I am different, right? It's like looking in the mirror and saying, wow, there I am. I haven't seen you.
Right.
I knew it wasn't there. Yeah. So where to start on that? Because this is huge collectively. I mean, all of the stuff that we encountered, and we do stuff like what would be considered hypnosis. We go into collective consciousness and we go into bigger than that. And it's just incredible. Like, can't even tell. I couldn't even describe it,
Right.
We were
it's
talking
hypnosis from the allowing conscious removal of the veil, like when you're asleep, but you're awake.
Yes.
And it's guided only in the beginning, and then the guide switches to the person who's doing the.
Yeah, and we call it, what did we say we're going to call it? Consciousness transcendence sessions or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
something like that.
Because it truly
instead of past life regressions.
Yeah, this is because this goes way beyond this, right? And then things become so clear. Ugh, we did 7 sessions last weekend. Right. 7 between 3 of us individually. And I still feel like there's more.
Easily.
Yeah. So so where do we start? So what we put up today had to do with the backwards world stuff. Let me go back to my notes from what we were talking about on Friday. Oh, that's not it. That's not it. Wow, I have a lot of those stuff this last weekend. Where are my notes from Friday? That's the question. Oh, here we go. Oh, no, that was 2 weeks ago. Where were we? What are we talking about today, Sarah? Where do we say we're going to start?
I didn't take notes. I just realized I never asked you for a copy of them.
Oh, you know why they're in my journal? They're not in this.
We were going to talk about wholeness.
We're going to talk about, I know the backwards world, but the first part was, and I just posted it.
Oneness, wholeness.
Oh no, as much right as much as we talk. All right, so that's a good place to start.
Right.
Yes. Well, I knew it was oneness and wholeness, but it was like, but there's an aspect to that we were talking about. So one of the things that we've looked at, right, so much, you and I in these, is that there's so much that we talk about, like wholeness, oneness, unity consciousness has become like catchphrases in the spiritual community.
Right.
We talk about it. We do all this stuff, and like in the name of that, and then except we deep down we're still resisting it.
Right. And there's so much that we don't attribute to separation. Then I think that that's the resistance, is because we lose those things. And if we don't even acknowledge that it's part of separation, we think, oh, well, I can have wholeness and that too. And it doesn't work that way.
Well, right. Well, we can have both, except we are to like the thing is to know that the separation doesn't really exist. It's just an illusion, right? And
Right.
and we talk about that. We talk about it. We've become so addicted to identity.
Right.
And that sigh was very, very perfect for that.
Right. Which is the separation.
Yes.
Me,
Right.
not me.
Right. And that's the whole, ego's journey, is that experience and that investigation and the, exploring via identity and separation. And that's what we've done. Right.
And we are in the deep dive of that collectively. I mean, look at the separation. It just keeps getting, whether you call it polarity or whether you call it separation, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right. Because why? More and more of us have been starting to, like, I don't want to say dabble, but immerse ourselves into that remembrance, right? And the more we do that individually, at the collective level, that where we're still stuck in, no, we love this identity and separation thing, right? Then we have to create an equal and opposite reaction, which then creates more polarity, which makes so much sense, right? Which means that then there's more people who want to go deep into that ego separation and exclusion and all that kind of stuff, which is what we're seeing in the world today, right? So,
and they go in passionately.
Yeah.
More so than ever.
Yeah. And we still do this whole thing with, oh, I have to be, it's funny because we have villainized any idea of being in a unity consciousness. Anytime we talk about being all one, or whatever, it's like we fight that. And like, look at the Borg with Star Trek. That's what I always come back to, right?
Right. It's that loss of individuality.
Yeah. And so
loss of free will.
What we perceive to be free will.
Exactly.
Because that's the whole thing, is free will doesn't really exist anyway, because there is nothing that's outside of the whole. So therefore there's nothing to digress with. There's nothing to go off with, because we actually, in all of the separation pieces, we do all of the options. So there's nothing that we don't do. It's just where we're focusing our consciousness in the moment. Right. So if you think of us as one consciousness and you think, okay, we're all this one consciousness, say even like Earth itself and all of the dimensions of Earth, because there are many, many of them here to begin with, right? Not just the 3D or the 2D or the 4D or whatever. It's a lot. So the dimensions and the facets and the hologram that we've created for Earth, we've all created those as separate pieces of the whole.
Right.
And I forgot where I was going with that. I just went way out there. It's oh God, what was I saying before? I just, like, it's funny. I zoom. I swear. I think I just jump right back out to where we were.
Right.
We think that, the free will thing. And when we are looking at that whole, like, we've tried in all these timelines and facets all the options out. And that's why we have visions and we see things that haven't happened here, but we know they feel really real, like they've happened, because they have. It's just where we're focusing our consciousness. And the more that we zoom out in terms of perspective, then the more we see all the options that we've played out, and it starts to become more and more equal. Like many people are saying when they go to sleep and they have these dreams, these
Right.
traveling dreams or these whatever dreams, that they wake up and they're like, it was so real. It was almost like as real as here. And I'm like, because it is.
Right. Right.
But it's a way we facet our individual consciousness on top of it. Like, so we facet and facet and facet into all these separations.
And we love that. We love the look of all the facets.
Right. Right. And so this is, you know, and the thing that we have been looking at, and it's not something that was new to last week, and we just did a real deep dive into it, is the understanding that we're done. Like this is complete. This part of the project is complete. This earth project, as we had created it to now, is complete. And so we have so many in the spiritual community, right, talking about, oh, well, we're afraid we're going to cycle again. We're afraid we're going to do this. We're going to, guess what? By being afraid, we create more separation.
Right.
And in creating more separation, we create the cycle.
You give energy to it.
Right.
Which perpetuates it.
And what we did uncover in remembrance last weekend was that we've been doing that on purpose, because we don't want the cycle to end, because we love this separation so much. So really what we're afraid of is the end of what we have considered this existence, the way we have had it.
Right.
And so that brings us into the whole backwards world thing.
Right.
because and you and I've been talking about that for years too. It's like, I have just had this really clear like understanding, not even belief, this understanding on how many things that we see here are the opposite of what they actually are.
Right.
And if you think about it as we creating mirrors and mirrors upon mirrors upon mirrors, what happens when you look in a mirror?
Everything's backwards.
Everything's backwards.
Or reversed.
The way it reflects back to you.
Right.
So if you think about how everything is reflecting back to us from what's inside, guess what? It's in a way, it's opposite of what we think it is, or we have to adjust. In many ways, we have started to adjust our way of seeing things.
Right.
Yeah, Gloria. So here's the thing: afraid of the unknown. There is no unknown. It's what we've chosen to forget, right? These are the things that we were, yeah, she said afraid of the unknown. The thing that is,
I'm not seeing comments.
Oh, yeah. So, but you know, the thing is that we're afraid of ending this. We're not afraid of the unknown.
Right.
Because we love this so much. I mean, and this is what we went, and I'm seriously, if I was there, that was one of my sessions, right? Going out there
Right.
and sobbing, right? Sobbing, because it's like, oh, because as soon as this is done, I cease to exist.
Right.
But
you go back into the wholeness.
And we have loved, and I think I even said that, we have fallen in love with this entire experience.
Right.
And yes, we've gotten uncomfortable with the uncomfortable. We like being uncomfortable because it feels like there's something outside of us. It's exciting.
Right.
It's
like sensory. It's
right. It's
sensation.
Yes.
It's what we came here to do.
And even like what you said in one of your sessions, which is, oh yeah, loving the suffering.
Right.
I love the suffering.
Right.
I love how dirty and dark and icky it is, right? That's right. And you know, people say that and they're like, what? And it's like, no, that's what we don't want to admit to ourselves. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, Michael says the higher soul level is on an adventure. This has been, yes, quite the adventure. Yes.
Exactly.
So Gloria says, could you explain further? So which part?
Right.
But you know, the whole thing was, and it was like, so we're sitting here going, oh, you know, and the way we appease ourselves is we're saying, oh, it's, you know, the new earth grid and it's the next version and it's all this kind of stuff, because there's a part of us that says, because we want to hold on to earth as it is.
Right.
Even as we move forward in the project, right? So well, I'm not sure, Gloria, if we're going to hit this the way what you're asking for, but hopefully this will clarify some things, because
Right.
we knew this is why it took us an extra 45 minutes to get on today, because we knew this was going to be a lot.
Right.
Oh yeah, obviously the technology had to catch up to us. So,
Right.
but the whole thing was, you know, we just, Glorious is afraid of the unknown. There is nothing that's unknown.
Right. It's all part of the wholeness. It's just we've pushed it out and separated and said I choose to pretend like I don't know this.
That's it. We choose to pretend that we don't know, and we love the thrill of being afraid.
Yes. Yes. It's like we've created the ultimate fun house.
Yes.
And that every time we go in it, it's different. And we've gotten to the point where we love all the sensations associated with it. And so why would we want to stop? We've mastered how to create it in ways we never dreamed we could do.
Yep. And so one of the things and so here's the thing, when we go out and do these, what we call the deep dives, and we transcend all of the individuality. Well, it was funny because we actually had to do several sessions because it was convenient to jump to the whole thing, right? Because there was no emotion involved from the individual level, right? And they're like, okay, too far. Let's back down a little bit.
Exactly.
To maybe the soul level versus the collective level or the whole level or whatever. Yeah, it was really fun. It's something to play with. Obviously we should maybe do a retreat sometime with people to like experience that, because it's a very, we've been doing it all year. So it's like this. This is how I saw it. This is how I remember it when we did that particular session with me. So, and I've said this for a long time, as I've seen us, the earth, as a small part of a much bigger project. Because, we think, like part of the forgetting when we get into the density here is forgetting that we're small, like we are a part of that huge thing. And we are project managers that said, we will go and manage this part because it fits this other parts of the project. I mean, it's like being a program manager. This is my program.
Right.
And I'm going to manage it from A to Z. So many of us who are here today, we're here at the beginning.
Right.
Which means we're at the end.
We're here. Right.
Essentially. And we've done this several times, but what's happened that I saw out there is that we've gotten so addicted to this that we've perpetuated it and perpetuated it and perpetuated it, and then claimed victim to the perpetuation. Right. Which, by the way, here's the mirror. There is no victimhood, right? Because we created it. So, and we claim, oh, well, we couldn't help it because of this. We couldn't help it because of this. We can't help it because of this. Is completion just another loop? Oh, the thing is, we keep on doing the same thing over and over again, right? Gloria says, sounds almost like being on a roller coaster and being kind of addicted to the highs. Exactly. Well, we are addicted. We're addicted to the lows too, by the way.
Right. Right.
And so
again, okay, if you look at it from the roller coaster perspective, it's the opposite of what you think. The highs give you the chance to be exhilarated, and the lows give you a chance to get down and get into that dark nitty gritty. And it's the opposite of what you think with the roller coaster. The lows are, oh, what a relief. But that's when we're into the really deep, dark shadow.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So much. So there's all of this stuff. Anyway, we can talk about this we talked about it for 5 days.
One piece, right?
Yeah. This is one piece, and we talked about this for 5 days. So we're condensing this down to an hour today. But the we explored this for 5 days too. Like we really went into that nitty gritty. So the thing for us to look at is this, there's no exceptions. Exceptions have to do with duality and polarity. And so therefore we perpetuate duality and polarity by including exceptions, right? So when we say some people just aren't there yet, that's an exclusion. When we say some people are doing this or they're not doing this, or only certain people can do this, or only certain individuals are here to do this, all of that's an exclusion.
Right.
And when we start, get into the muck of things, Gloria says. Yeah, so it's like, and we're so entrained that even when we're super uber conscious about all of this, we still have exclusions in our minds.
Right. Absolutely. It's just, it's what we've ingrained, and it's how we successfully perpetuated this, that to the point where we don't even give it thought. It's just an automatic autopilot.
Right. Right. And so it's funny because we talk about wholeness, we talk about oneness, we talk about unity consciousness to a point, because there's that part of us that wants to preserve that separation and exclusion and duality so that we can continue to perpetuate this cycle.
Especially if we look at it from the perspective of, we have to have external help. We have to have, the blue avians come in. We have to have the Pleiadians come in. We have to have this. But that's, again, just another facet of us. It's another level of separation that just cycles.
It is us, right? Yeah. So
exactly.
So, the thing that was so stunning to me that came out of my mouth that I heard and listened to part of the playback and felt in every fiber of my being is when I was looking at the larger picture, I realized this has become like a cancer.
Right.
That Earth has become like a cancer in the bigger project because we have extended it to be much more than it is to fit into the bigger project, right?
When you lose your focus,
right,
that's what happens.
And it's been perfect and beautiful and incredible, except that we're just sort of hanging on to this. And so, like, yes, we do that at the bigger consciousness too, right? So now it's like, okay, it's time for us to let it go.
Right.
And so in our bodies, and I've talked about this for like what, years or whatever. We're talking about this in our immunity consciousness, funny, and in that whole like course that we're doing, right?
Right.
Which is like, cancer cells are natural in our body because they're to release the toxins that go in there to prevent it from, it's like
the cleanup crew.
Yeah, it's the cleanup crew. Attracts the toxins, flushes them. Attracts the toxins, flushes them. And what happens when we get tumors and cancer that takes over our body is that the toxins become too much for those cells to be able to manage and flush. So therefore, then it mutates and then becomes detrimental to the function of the rest of the body. And it's not that it's just like it's not that it's exactly it. That was the closest thing I could come to, but even hearing that and to admit that out loud, it was like, oh wait. Yeah. So for us to really complete this project is for us to complete this set of lessons, which means for us to really let go of that idea that we need to be separate in a place of exclusion, right? So here's the thing. Then we start talking about things like, oh, unity, but still in a place of exclusion, right? And we're still playing with like what that, what like, can we do that? And we've done that and done it. There are all of these. So the other thing that we saw out there was there are all these new dimensions and new forms, which is what I believe we see as the new Earth grid, right? Which is really just a completely new playground, right? Which is what we've been talking about that for years too, like something that's completely new that was created and birthed from the germination of this seed.
Right.
And for us to let that grow is to let go of the the germinating part here.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's heavy stuff. Like I can feel it at the collective level. Like you're talking about it, it's like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. So Gloria said, agreed, instead of exclusions, we're all just different levels of growth, or we're all just different levels of remembrance as we're letting go of the partitions of separation. We don't learn anything. We just remember. right? From that
Right.
perspective of wholeness. And we're pulling out partitions of separation that we've created in facets of ourselves that have caused us to be limited or limit ourselves and feel like we have to attain something as part of the experience, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, what if we just accepted it's all complete
And perfect.
and perfect and done?
Right. Right. And there's nothing to be saved. There's nothing to struggle against. There's nothing to stand against. It's the ultimate freedom, which I'm not even sure we've remembered yet how to do that, to
Yeah.
be that free.
Right. Well, we talk about saving the world, saving this, saving that, but there's nothing. The thing
There's
is,
nothing to be saved.
we want to save all of this pain and suffering is what we want to save.
Right. We want to save all the separation.
And all the separation because we love the roller coaster ride, right?
Right. Save the fun house.
Yeah, save the fun house. And it's like, okay, so maybe it's time for us to change our perspective on saving it versus just saying we're ready to complete it.
Right.
We're ready to acknowledge, actually not even complete it because it's already complete.
Be it as complete.
Acknowledge it and yes, and accept it as complete.
Which is no work.
Right. Because as soon as I say that, it's like, oh.
It's just a mindset.
Okay. I can do this.
Yeah. Right. Talk about waving a magic wand.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if we get to that place of saying, you know, it's like once, you know, for me, the biggest thing was looking at my fear of never having existed once this is done.
Right.
Because there's no time right outside of time and space. I exist, I don't exist. But that happens anyway. Because I'm part of that much bigger consciousness and it doesn't lessen it. It just is part of the whole thing, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's the ego that fights with, oh, well, I'm going to cease to exist. And it's like, right. That was the plan all along.
Well, or to come to the realization that you never existed to begin with.
Right. Because I'm an illusion too. And so are you.
Exactly.
And so it seems sort of wacky and extreme, except that these are the things for us to look at right in the mirror. Flip those settings on. Do not reverse.
Right. Right.
See it. Michael says gasp. Right. Exactly. So it's for us to say, well, okay. And by the way, in our much bigger state, we're so, I mean, the bliss is so complete and
there's nothing missing.
Michael says, I'm an illusion. Yeah, I know. That's a gasp by the ego. I'm an illusion. Right. Because we talk about, oh, this is all an illusion, but we don't turn around and go, but I am too. And I am too. Right.
Right.
So, yeah. And Michael, Gloria, Nicole, everybody who's here, like we take out the romper room, you know,
mirror.
Right. I see everybody. Because we're all that same consciousness putting on different costumes and parts. It's like the one man show.
Right.
Not the one man, the one consciousness show. That's what it is, you know?
Right.
And so feeling that, the thing was the sobbing, right, was the realization of that I will cease to exist on the completion of this. I cease to exist at the completion of this. But once I faced that, it was so freeing. I felt so free.
Right. I know for me, it was the realization that nothing needed to be fixed.
Yeah.
It was like all this freedom. It's like, oh, so now I can do what I want to do.
Right.
Instead of the obligation of, well, I have to fix this and I have to fix this and I have to make this.
Right.
You know,
right.
And
it was like, oh, we came here to hold space of that remembrance in wholeness. Right. And that's what, you know, we talk about the mission. So many people talk about the mission and
right.
it's not the saving of the world. It's holding the space to allow it to complete, to allow it to be complete so that the rest of our facets remember that space of completeness. Right. So to really live wholeness, to really live, oneness and unity consciousness, and to really accept that I'm here today and I'm not. And I'm
Exactly.
here tomorrow and I'm not. And there's
Right.
no difference if I'm in this body or out of the body. So therefore, there goes all the fear of death. There goes all of this. It's like, oh, I'm done. I'm not done.
And it's like living that in every moment.
Yeah. And in the meantime, while I'm here, holding that space of remembrance, sure, I'm going to have a great time.
Exactly. Why not?
Right now, exactly. Just totally immerse myself in the enjoyment of it, right?
Right.
That
Right.
changes so much. Oh my God, what a freeing kind of experience that becomes. To
Right.
say, oh, I can just enjoy this. Like, what? This doesn't have to be work. I don't have to suffer anymore. Or I can choose to suffer as long as I consciously know that I'm choosing it.
That I'm enjoying that.
And I'm enjoying it in every step of the way.
Right.
Right. And people would say they think that's ridiculous, but it's true. That's how, I mean, when we can see it from that higher consciousness, when we go out there and zoom out in these, these conscious, what we call the consciousness transcendence sessions that we've been doing, in oneness and wholeness, it's like, oh, it's so easy. Like, and why? Okay. Right. Remember
Right.
the first one, the first sessions that we did, we just jumped right, like way out.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. I'm looking at the blueprint of the whole universe. So I was like, hold on a minute. This and it's like, oh yeah. And then it's hard for us to have words and explain what we're seeing anyway, because it's just, there's no words to those. But
Well, and you want to just sit there and take it all in, and people who are helping guiding you are like, okay, what are you seeing? And it's like, there are no words.
yeah, yeah, yep, yep. And so, but the good part about doing that and consciously taking ourselves there is because when we get there, we remember how easy it is, how incredibly love filled and just
Bliss.
bliss.
Free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and it just is like, there's no contrast to that. So it just is. And
Right.
it's easy and it's free and it's powerful and it's effortless because
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, I'm just looking at that and creating it.
Right.
I'm looking at that and letting it create because I can.
Right.
And then I uncreate and then I do other stuff or I create differently. And then it's like, oh, and then we do this collectively and then we build, like, and it's like this whole concentricity of how complex we've gotten into our creations. Oh, yeah, that feels like just even going back to that just feels so
I
good.
know. I know. I know. Yep.
And so part of it is for us to resolve all that within ourselves. That's pretty much our mission. Resolve the need for such separation, because that's why we're creating so much duality and polarity here, is because there's a part of us collectively that's going, no, we don't want it to end. We're going to create more excuses to perpetuate this.
Right. Right.
And by the way,
printed numbers.
right. And part of breaking through this ceiling, right, of cycling and looping is to say, I see it for what it is. And I'm thankful. I admit, I come to resolution with, I've loved it. I've loved the pain and suffering as much as I've loved the bliss and happiness.
Right.
And joy. And I've loved,
I loved every sensation.
every sensation we created from this, every
Right.
sensation. And when we can do that without judgment, then we start to break the loop. That was the understanding that we came to, right? That's
right. It's almost like it just starts falling apart.
yes. And it's for us to let it do that so that we can then step into what many want to call the new earth grid or the new earth, or it's just a completely different part of the project that we had to create from this to get to that. And so now it's like, okay, but why would you stay in the same place if you got this waiting that we're creating, And so, yeah, a lot to consider there. And so for us to shift that perspective to say, okay, so our mission isn't saving the earth. Our mission is letting it go so that we can step into what's next, and holding that space of wholeness and oneness in a space of love. Because if we all did that, well, everything would fall apart as we know it, right?
Oh, we'd be gone.
And we would be gone instantly. We'd be on to the next thing. It would be done. It would be that easy in that moment. And I mean, it is anyway, but even easier.
Right.
It's more seamless. So it's for us to finally put on our big people panties and jump off the high diving board and know that it's going to be freaking awesome shifting over.
Right.
You know, and that is truly embracing that wholeness of, yeah, I am this and I am seizing. I don't exist. I am an illusion. And this illusion and the thousands of lifetimes and thousands of parts of the multiverse that I have been in.
Right.
More than thousands. I hear more than thousands. Okay. Yeah, because we're all the same anyway, right? Bajillions.
Right.
That, yeah, is perfect. And it's great. And I'm even greater as a whole.
Right.
Completion.
Right. Right.
And look at how freaking awesome we are to have created all of this.
Oh, beyond our wildest imagination.
Yeah. And it's getting ourselves into like what we have learned, I think, in our experiences, like the three of us that went last weekend, and then we've had 4 of us, we've had 6 of us at different times, like we've done one every quarter this year, and we're going to continue next year. Has been that the reason we do these things this way is that in the mind, that's where we hide those little precious things. In the ego is where we hide those precious things. And we can say them in consciousness, even when we practice it and whatever and live it, but we're in such a habit of being in separation here that we're like, but I can hide this behind the door in the closet.
We can make exceptions.
I can make an exception.
Right. Right.
And exceptions perpetuate duality.
Right.
Exclusions perpetuate duality.
Exactly.
So when we say, oh, I can love all people, but I can't love that person. It's like, oh, well, then you're perpetuating duality because that's just another you.
Right.
That we love. And actually, the more you can't stand somebody, the more we love it.
Right. Exactly.
Like I've always said, like nobody would want to watch Star Wars if there was no Darth Vader or Sith. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
So, you know, when we get to that and that realization, it's not that we devoid ourselves of those feelings, right? It's that we can observe them differently.
Exactly. It's almost like, you know, I hate to use the word reality, but it's like a reality check. It's like,
or an illusion check.
Right. Exactly.
It's an illusion check.
Check your illusions at the door.
That's right. Gloria says, do you have to be a trainer to be invited? No, actually, we've only had a very small group of us that have just gone ahead and done it as we were guided.
Right.
Sort of like a little conclave. So you just got to catch on to the wave. And we might expand it. We were talking about expanding it maybe and having some other versions next year with more people. So if they're able to do it. So we'll see it all posted. But you know, the thing and the biggest part of doing that is getting to this place of being committed to transcending the ego, right? Because man, we get there and we get cranky, right? We get uncomfortable.
Yep.
We get hard sometimes because we're like, I'm gonna put that shell up because I just don't want to do. And the ego's going, no, 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 no. And then we're saying from this observant standpoint, oh, well, then we definitely need to do this.
Right. Instead of like, oh, well, maybe we don't need to look at that.
Yeah. And we tried it once in our June one.
Right.
We tried that once and that was really fun because the 4 of us that were there, yep, we were being successful in avoiding some certain things.
Right.
We were like, oh, let's go do this first. Like one morning and we go and I had a boot on my car because I had parked in a no parking thing. And it was funny It was funny.
Couldn't go anywhere.
So we could not literally go anywhere because it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. We were going to watch the sunrise. It was like, couldn't go anywhere till 9 to have them come in and take the boot off. And I'm like, well, guess what? Guess we have to stay here and do this. And we learned our lesson there because we're like, okay, nope, this has got to take priority over wherever we are, wherever we're guided to go to do these.
Well, we isolated ourselves, when the sun doesn't come up till 8 and it goes down at 4, you've got a very small window of being able to go anywhere else.
Which is where this weekend.
Yeah.
And such a beautiful, I mean, we were at Orcas Island on the San Juans, the very northern point of Washington by Canada. And it was incredible on the islands there. It's just incredible. And the place we stayed in, right, with the whole second floor was one room that we slept in, and they had the big windows where you could watch the sunrise, and it was just incredible.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
water all around.
You didn't even need to get out of your pajamas.
Which we didn't until like what? One day we didn't get out of pajamas until like what, 4:30 or so. And then it was
Right.
like until like 7, and then we got back in pajamas.
Right.
Because that was what we had. We knew we were there to do this. We knew
Right.
we were there to, and it was like almost like, here, take this place. So you can immerse yourself in that wholeness here, right? And you don't have to go anywhere, right? We brought food in because it was really, remote and everything. And
we prepared to not go anywhere.
Yeah, we were prepared to not go anywhere, and we also knew better than to try to avoid it.
Right. We did learn our lesson.
So going in and doing that, it was like, what we do, we get really edgy and cranky, but we also trust each other. We all trust ourselves and each other that we're here to do this, or else we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be there to do it.
Right. Right.
And it's intense. It's exhausting because we have so much emotion. The ego builds up so much emotion about things it's repressing. So there's a lot of tears that comes up. There's a lot of laughing to crying. There's a lot of crying. There's a lot of anger. And then it goes. But then when we finally get to it, finally the last thing, it was like, boom. Done. Oh, that was easy. That wasn't like any struggle at all. Like, right. Because we were just peeling it away. But that's the work for all of us. That's the focus for all of us, is to get to those trigger points. And that's what we call trigger points, things that are causing us to shell up, to hold on to anger, to hold on to pain and sorrow, to hold on to hesitation and fear. Because once we get past, and once we transcend them, right, we go into this place of, you know what? That was, why was I holding on to that? Right? You're like,
it's like it just vanishes, and it's like it never existed. Which that shows how much of an illusion it really is.
Yeah. Because with you, right, that last thing, it was like, oh, look. Oh, and we thought it was going to be some big thing. And you're like, oh yeah, okay. Oh, look, I'm being rewired. Oh, look, all that just got erased. Oh, that feels really good. And then that was it.
Right.
Because we've now gotten rid of all of those things that we hold, and the ego, well, we had peeled away. That was the last one we did all weekend, right? So that was after we had peeled away, shifted through. And every individual that we do, like when we do the individual sessions, it's for all of us involved.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
It's just that we're all holding a piece of those seeds, right? But so that's the key, and that's the immersion thing. That's the really focusing on, not the stuff that feels great.
Right.
It's the stuff that doesn't feel great that's important for us to look at, because that's the stuff for us to clear away, because it's what we still hold on to in duality, because outside of duality, we don't have that.
So that's what today is that your mini immersion.
Yes. Yeah. So this is a lot that we've covered today.
Right.
So let's focus on, what should we focus on here today? The baby step.
Well, the new understanding of wholeness.
Right.
And our relation in this separation.
Right. And our ability to observe where we still, I can't get the word. I can feel it though. To be able to observe where we're still immersing ourselves in separation
Right.
individually, because we love it so much, we don't let go of it, right? Where we're addicted to it, right?
Right.
To be able to observe it, to thank it and love it and let it go.
Right.
And to find a way, to remember a way on to do that, on how to do that, and to commit ourselves to doing that, even if it's one baby step at a time, because that's really all that matters.
Right. It's in every moment.
I mean, that's why we're doing it like quarterly, right? Because
Right.
we got rid of this and then something else comes up, you know, it's
Right.
like we got rid of that whole level of stuff and now we get to this.
Right.
So let's go do that. Yeah, that feels really good.
Yes.
And opening the door, like for ourselves to, there's not the word, there's not a word, to be our wholeness, to hold the space of wholeness, to live and breathe and exist in it in every moment in presence. And also in that, immersing yourself in the enjoyment of this experience as well.
Exactly. And see the sensations for what they are.
Right. The fun house that it is.
Right. Right.
All right.
Let's do that.
Let's go do that.
Oh, I could have just stayed there.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna go get me some more of that today.
Right. Absolutely. That was, oh, so comforting.
Oh my goodness, that felt fabulous. Fabulous. I am just tingly all over from that. It was funny, as soon as I closed my eyes, it was like I was back there on Orcas Island and I was like, oh, and from here it was just like, and then it was like expanding and more, it was like I could see the collective just starting to like, oh, and then it was just such an expansive, it was like almost like it went down to my cells and that was the collective, right? And it was like so expansive, felt really nice. Yep, gonna get me some more of that today. Put aside some time to go sit in that later. But yeah, so that's the joy for this week. Anything you want to share from yours?
Oh gosh. I just felt like everything just expanded out from my heart, and the flow, almost like, talking about, amusement parks and everything, you come like on the flume ride and you come and you just come into that smooth section. And that's just what it all felt like when everything just opened up, and it was just like coming home kind of thing.
It was a breath. It was a breath of freedom. Yeah,
Yes.
it's nice.
Yeah, that freedom. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so everybody sit with us this week, be observant, come back and do that session over and over again. Because
Right.
this is pretty deeply ingrained stuff. So
Right.
really powerful, super powerful. Yeah, it's just what a great gift for ourselves, at the holiday season kind of thing, whatever you celebrate or don't celebrate. Doesn't matter. It's a great gift for ourselves right now because we are at a very important point of expansion. So
Mhm.
so sit with that and we'll just see what we come up with next week.
Right. Now we can top this.
That's right. All right, everyone, have a great week. This is Angela Coulter.
Sarah Sieg Avignoni.
Signing off on this week's Ascended World. See you next time.